Hey folks, welcome to part 2 of this Ironhead road ready project of ours that has indeed turned into a project. This video, we're going to build us a custom air intake because I want one really short, and we're going to try to get the front end back on this and working hopefully. So welcome back to Butler Customs Motorcycle Shop. On the air intake, just for reference, this was what was on it. And it sticks out, I know you can't see it, but it sticks out past the shifter on this right side. It was ginormous. When you were sitting on it, your leg was constantly just rubbing right here on it. It's huge. If you want this, you're welcome to it. I'm not going to be using it. So I had this idea. Hey, let's get a cat bowl, which I happen to have. Now, I hate cats. I'm sorry if you like cats. I apologize. I do not like cats. I think they're probably the dumbest animals that the good Lord ever created, but that's just my opinion. I might get to heaven and it'd be full of cats, and I'll be very wrong. So, what I did was epoxied this emblem onto the cat bowl. I cut the cat bowl out. This is the dish of it. I drilled a hole in the center. It was easy to find the center because it's, you could see where it's been machined. And how now are we going to attach it to here? I want this to set in pretty deep. And that way there's no interference with your legs. It's small, it looks good. When the bare metal pipes are on, it'll match really well. So I really do like this. The only thing I might add to this is maybe some, rubber, I guess kind of like trim, like what's underneath if you have a Harley and you have a center console, that black rubber trim that goes around that's grooved and sets up in there. I might do that, but I think it might take away from the look of just this plane. So how do we affix this and get a filter in there? We have 3 holes over here, and we need room for this butterfly to work for the choke. Now the choke doesn't come out all the way. That's about all you get in that. So we don't have to worry too much about clearance. So what I decided to do is to take just a small piece of metal, and I made this. So I just kind of measured this out. I bent it how I wanted it. I put a hole there, and I put a nutsert on this. I think it's a 1/4 inch nutsert. And so let me get some blue Loctite. I did put a lock washer on this, but I do want to blue it because I certainly don't want these coming off into here. I don't think they would get in there, but you never know. I've seen stranger things happen. So we'll put this on here. And I'll just get this hand tight for now because I want to be able to move this to where I can center it, and then I'll lock it down. So I measured out the space that I wanted it out where this would fit in and not interfere with this choke mechanism here or anything on the other side. So now I can put this up here. I can bring this down a little. And let's bring it down a little bit more. I think about right there looks good. Okay. Then I'll lock this down. I've got that Loctite on there. I'll just try to hold it where it won't move on me much. I got the Loctite and the lock washer on there. I just certainly don't want to bust the threads on the carb, but that's pretty tight right there. Now, my original plan was to build something like this for this hole and this hole as well. Join them together, all three, and then run my nutsert in all three holes. Then I had like a little skeleton I could wrap my brass filter around. But when I was looking at it, this is pretty thick here, and it's really sturdy. If I did three of those, I don't think a nutsert would grab it enough to stay in there. And the last thing I want to do is lose this going down the road. So I came up with an idea of taking another 1/4 inch bolt like this, but running a couple of battery spacers in it with a lock washer on it as well. Some blue on that, and run that in there. Okay, I'll lock that down real good. And I've got another one exactly the same that's going to go in the 3rd hole there. Right in there. And then I'll tighten that down so that lock washer compresses good and snug. All right. Now I can go ahead and take my brass mesh, and I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times on the inside here so it doesn't come unraveled on me. Then I can simply take this mesh over this and just keep winding it. This is exactly the same mesh I have in my pan head, and it works great. Never had an issue with trash getting in it, and you can take it off, take it out, and wash it out every now and then. And then at the end, I'll just kind of tuck this under there, and there is my air filter. Now when I put this on, it will go back here. This keeps any debris from going directly into it. Still gets good airflow through the mesh because I still got room here for the sides. And I thought long and hard about, well, maybe I should run a nut or a bolt on the back side coming out here, and then I can put a little wing nut on it, but it interferes with this right here. I didn't want to put a standard just bolt in it. So I've got this old school flathead bolt, and I think that'll look the best. A wing nut, or not a wing nut, but one of those fancy chrome nuts kind of took away from this, so I didn't use that either. So we'll put that on there. I'll run this in. All right, I'll get everything where I want it, and then I'll tighten this down. And if I don't like the angle from maybe side to side, I can just bend that bracket and move it, loosen that bolt and move it, you know, however I want it. But that right there is sturdy. It's not going anywhere. I may put some of that stuff around this just so it doesn't rub into this right here. I don't like that at all. I did dull these down, but it's so thin, it's going to stay sharp. And with the vibration, I don't want it cutting into that. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But that's our homemade air cleaner. I think it looks pretty cool. I kind of like it. And with the bare metal pipes, I'm going to take these back, strip all the paint off these. It's just going to match. The tanks, Spears that's doing the paint on the tanks didn't want me to strip the paint off because it's already had body work on it and it looks good. But bare metal, I think would look really good with all this now. So let me get you around here and let you see it head on and then from the front to show you the look I was going for. All right, so there it is head on. This is about the way the bike's going to sit. I like it. I think it looks pretty cool. It's not going to smother out the carburetor or anything. There's plenty of airflow back here. I can stick my whole finger back here into the mesh. And let me show you what it looks like from the back and from the front. So there it is from the back. Nice, flat, exactly what I wanted. Plenty of leg room. Let's look at the front. So there it is from the front. That's the front view. So you can see the carb kind of sticks out quite a bit as it is. And any air breather, aftermarket air breather, or especially stock that you put on there, is not going to give it that slim chopper look. So that's what I wanted to go for. And we officially have the very first cat bowl Harley Davidson Ironhead intake in the world. Well, tickle my toes and feed me biscuits. Look at that right there. I found the bottom piece that went on the bottom of the cat bowl. It's a little rubber thing that keeps it from, I guess, sliding around on the floor. And it fit on there. However, I don't know if I like it or not. That's why I haven't glued it on there yet. I had to cut it because it was a lot bigger around. But I don't know what it... I mean, it does protect it. I just don't know. I think I like the idea. It makes it look more, I guess, professional. It does clean up the edges a whole lot. Yeah, I like it. The only thing I don't like is that I guess this is just laid up there forever. It was off the bowl and it kind of lost some of its pliability, or it's just kind of odd shaped in some spots. I don't know. What do you think? I'll leave that up to you. I won't glue it on right now. I think if I went and bought some at the parts store that are for like window trims and stuff, I don't know. It's just called trim. It's shinier. It doesn't look old, but hey, we're kind of going for the aged look, and that is been sitting aging in my shop for years. So, what you think? Yay or nay? And here's it on. Let me take it off and show you it without it. That's the no. That's just bare. I think I like the black better, but it's just, it's lost its shape and it looks kind of rough, and it really needs to be not so wide. It really needs to be a little bit shorter, and it would prevent this from rubbing. So I guess using something around that would be best, and it looks okay. It doesn't look bad. I just didn't want to take away from the cat bowl factor. Okay, I fixed it. It was all like wavy and loose, so I just took it off and turned it the other way where there's now tension on it. And I went ahead and just glued it in, because now that it's like that, it looks kind of cool, because this is giving it's got a curve up, and then this is giving it kind of more of a kick out. And I like that. And it gave it a really, really clean look. And it's not new and shiny, which I like. I'm happy. That's pretty cool. Now, while the intake was kind of easy breezy, lemon squeezy, these are not. I've looked, I've studied, can't find anything. I was hoping maybe somebody knew about these or worked at the factory when these were made. Nope. I found one on Marketplace that a guy had, I think like in Georgia. It was identical. He said it's from the 70s. That's all he knew about it. So I messaged him. I'm like, hey, what brand is that? He didn't know. So I cannot find any kits for this, but we've got to get these out. They're just wallered out. We've got to replace them with something. They're not broken in the middle, you know, like a handlebar bushing where the two come together. And the rods, let me grab one. Grab another. Yeah, that's fine. These have to slide in here, but you can see how wallered out that is, and it's missing pieces off this. So this just isn't going to work at all. I found a replacement kit that these go all the way through this down here, but we would have to drill this, retap it, then hopefully the kits would be long enough for our springs, and the bushings would fit in the holes for this. I don't know, but I do know these have to come out. So what I'm going to do is take flap disc and get this top off, then I can drive this out the bottom. I might need to do the bottom, then I can drive this out the top, because if I booger into this, you'll see it. The bottom you won't. So maybe that's a better idea. And then let's just start working on this. It looks like this was originally flat and went in, the top caught, and then this was smashed out to keep this in. So I see a cut there and a cut there that they would have probably cut them and then just mushroomed them out. Kind of like a rivet to keep those in, but we got to get them out. So I think that's our best bet. Shave this lip here off, then knock it out with a socket. And these should just be washers kind of here that help to hold this in. So let's just get into it. Okay, I think that might have been enough. Get all that off there. I think now if I can find a socket that'll fit just inside the lip of this inner bushing, and I can knock that out, and then we can see if this just falls off, or maybe get a little wedge back behind here. See if this is just a washer, then this will tap out a whole lot easier. Or I can put a bigger socket about this size and drive it through and knock the top washer and this inside out too. I don't know. Let's just see what we can do. Trial and error. 1/2 inch is a little too small, but maybe it'll mushroom it out, push it out. Let's try that. All right, it's going. All right. Okay, so that was just a washer there. And then the top is coming on out. There we go. Wow, these are really thin. Really, really thin. So these are just washers on top and bottom. And then this is super light, super thin. No wonder it gave. And you can see, let me let you see. It had really boogered it up. But it's so thin, I don't see how that would have lasted. Anyway, and with our shaft here, you can see how wallered out that was. Plans, we don't have any. This has got to come off. This is doing us no good. I should probably just cut that off with my pocket knife. Let's get this off. Try to find something we can fit in here with the diameter just for this metal. All the ones I've seen, that's how they work. They don't have this. And I guess for this reason, it eventually splits and cracks and breaks and then gets caught up and then wallers out your hole there. So I'll just peel it like an orange. I guess so. It's so dry and old. There we go. You know, the rods aren't bent, thank goodness. Then we'd really be in a pickle. So we just have to find something to replace this. Clean this up, polish this up as best we can. So I think we're getting somewhere. I think, at least we got these out. There was just, I could not find a good way to get them out. So it is what it is. Let me work on this other one over here. And then we can clean all this up with our brass wheel here. I will take a file and clean on the inside of that. Then we'll have to do some mathematical stuff. How big is this hole? What's the diameter of the rod? And then find something to fit in there for that. Hopefully we can find something. If I don't know what else to do besides just keeping this for scrap parts and getting another front end on it. I don't know. This is super cool, so I want to try to save on this if we can. Well, that one came out a whole lot easier. Oh, wow. Look at that. There was pretty much nothing left of that. That's a hole in that. They're so thin. Really not a good design, in my opinion. All right, I've got both sides cleaned up. Now, let me go to the junk drawers, see what we can come up with. Maybe we'll get lucky. Okay, I think we might be on to something. Handlebar bushings. I cleaned this rod up. This is what slides up and down. The newer aftermarket ones, I don't think they have any kind of bushings or coating like this one had. I tried a handlebar bushing. Perfect. There's no very little wiggle room. So I think that once the springs are on and this is under pressure, that's going to work great. Now my only thing is, we'll get this ran in here. Now we got to do some studying. When this goes up in here, yes, we can shorten this, but there's a lot of play. And these things go up and down. Well, not that much, hopefully, but we can keep this lubed up. But how do we keep this from, when it hits a bump, going out like that and then getting caught, and then this wallering around? So we've got to have a way to keep this in once we shorten it, to keep that in there. And I really need something to fill that gap. So I thought, well, why don't I just shave down? Because one side, if you just use one side, would be plenty. It would actually stick out the top. We'd have to shorten this. What if in the bottom, these on the inside diameter grip this really well? And so I think once that's in there, you know, that wouldn't go anywhere. It would stay in this bushing. Then I could put a metal washer underneath here once I get the spring on. But now my concern is this outside diameter here, while it fits the inside very well, and I want it to fit it snug and tight, does not fit the hole. Now I don't want to bore out this hole just to make this fit. So I tried to take one, because I've got two extras. So I said, let me experiment on one. So I kept shaving down the side and shaving down the side. I thought I had it good enough. It went in there. Then when I tried to put this in, and hammer it in there, I boogered it up. So evidently I didn't shave enough off. And the way this fits, there's not that much room. So I have to get this really, really thin. And then once I get the washer on there and the spring on there, that's not going anywhere. And then this would be tight inside here. And then on top is a smaller spring that goes on this. And then that would set on here. We'll put the washer back on as well for the bigger spring that goes on. But we wouldn't have to worry about this right here. So I'm asking you, will that work? If we shave this down, this rubber piece down here, enough to fit in there snug, that would hold this in. Enough for this to slide up and down. We wouldn't have to worry about it coming out the top, pushing up through the top, because you would have this spring holding this down. This washer goes on. This goes on. So this little spring holds this down. Then a bigger spring goes in here and holds this down. So this won't go anywhere. I wish there was a little spring like this that went in the bottom, and that would hold this bottom from coming out too. That would be a cool idea. But I think what we have here is going to work. We can find an inside diameter spacer like this, round bar, with a little bit bigger diameter. That's what I need. I think a solution has been found. And it is just the rest of this kit. These that go on top of this. Okay, I think that once this is in, let's see here, that'll go in there, and then these should fit over that. Yes, in there. And then when this big spring is in here, which I will probably, let's turn it around. This is just for demonstration purposes. And once pressure is on this, that'll set in that cup, and that'll keep this from coming down. So then this will travel with that. Then this spring will keep that down, and we'll use this other one on the top backwards like this to keep that spring in as well. Look at that. I think that's going to work. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Wait a minute. If this is kept here and this is kept here, help me understand this. I'm trying to use logic and science and mathematics and equations. Help me. Help me, Tom Cruise. Okay, if there's spring pressure on both of these, then this isn't going anywhere, right? Because this will be pressurized with the springs, both springs. This spring and the outer spring, right? Yeah, so we got this spring here, and we got this spring that goes on over top. So what I'm saying is, when there's pressure on this and the wheel's on the ground, the bike's on the ground, this has to slide and this not move. So we don't have to worry about it coming out, because there'll be pressure up here as well. Let's put this all together. See what we're dealing with now. I'm just trying to figure it out, guys. I know you're probably sitting there yelling at me saying, no, do it like this. Don't do that, do this. I know. But can we just try to figure it out? Now I'll cut that off where it's shorter and this goes down, but then got this big spring here too. I'll go down over that. So then when it does that, it'll actually compress this way. Okay, the springs won't necessarily move up and down like that. The shaft will. The springs will just compress together smaller. They won't move up and down. Guys, I think that'll work. So we've got that taken care of. Now the question, how do we get this gap fixed. I'm afraid if I tack weld it on both sides, I won't get it even. You know, it's got to be kind of floating. I'm afraid I won't get it even. And I'll tack weld it, and then when I go to run this rod in, it's like that. No good. So I've got to have something that holds this in, or have one of these that has this diameter inside, inner diameter of this, but the outer diameter of this. I've looked all through my bushings. That's why I don't throw anything away I think I might could use or fabricate later on. Maybe I can find something. I'll measure this in here. I would like to be able to put it on here and actually tap it in to where it's flush. And that way I know that this isn't going to go up and down at all. And it's not going, well, which it probably won't anyway, but it won't do this. If I had one I had to tap in there and it's good and tight, then it's not going to do that. And then we're good. We can clean this all up, put it all back together. I am going to rethread these. That one's got a little flat spot in it. That looks good. The neck, I'll probably clean the threads up on that too. But this one will need probably to be rethreaded. So there, I think we can save this. It all comes down to this. We can find one with just the outer diameter to fit in there. All is well in this world of springers. Okay. I think Ace Hardware for the win. I tried to find metal sleeves that were like the handlebar bushings, but wider in diameter. It did not work. They did not have anything like that in different stores I went to. But Ace Hardware had brass bushings, or they call them bronze. Not sure what the difference is. My concern is they're a little softer than hardened metal. But the inside diameter, in case you ever run upon one of these and have to do this, the inside diameter is 1/2 inch. The outside on this was 3/4, and the length was 1 1/8 inch. I bought two so I could kind of practice on one, and when you split these in half, they fit in there perfectly if you put them right in half. So I think that's going to work. I know it's going to be better, but if it doesn't work after we put some miles on it, then I don't know. I guess we might have to change the front end out. Now we cannot use the washers that were on it because the washers that were on it go over that. Well, they did. Get a different one. Yeah, the inside diameter of them go over that, and I want these brass to not move. So we're going to have to use our handlebar bushing washers, and they will sit on top of that, up in top and bottom, and they will keep that, hopefully, brass insert from going up and down. The 3/4 didn't quite fit in there, so I did have to kind of Dremel out a little bit, and I kind of wish now I hadn't have done that, because I wanted them really snug, and they're tight, but they're not as snug as I wanted them. So I kind of wish I'd left them alone and just, drove them in there so that I knew they weren't going to move, and then just cut them off as I needed them. But hindsight's what, 50-40? I don't know. But I think now I got this cleaned up best I can. I really like this instead of the black with all the flaws and imperfections and pits. I like that. It matches a true 70. So at this time, we're ready to go ahead with our bearings, get those packed. I got these here, just some cheap ones off Amazon, because they didn't have them in stock at the parts store. I had evidently bought the last two at the parts store for the Honda chopper. So I just picked these up on Amazon, super cheap. That'll get us by. And then on the cups, I did clean the cups up, brought them back down to the bare metal, and the races inside here are nice and smooth and not pitted or grooved. Now on these iron heads, on some choppers, on some Sportsters, you can buy cups that are 3-degree rake. And they do that by raking this little insert right here so that it brings it on back. I didn't go that route because we're pretty close to the tank here anyway. So I just left it the way it was. And the front springer's so tall, I just left it alone. So let's pack these bearings, set the springer on, then we can start putting the springs and assembly and all that back in. Put the tire on and then see if it straightened up, which I know it did. Straighten up that wheel, but also, pounce on it a little, pull on it, maybe put a strap across here and bring it in and bring it out just to see how those bushings in there are going to act. That'll tell us if we're going to be safe going down the road. Well, I got to confess to you, that springer nearly broke me. At one point I was like, man, I'm throwing this away in the garbage, getting a new one. But we succeeded. We conquered. And now this is nice and straight all the way down. Everything lines up beautifully. Now I've got this wheel in a vise, so it's kind of cockeyed, so pay no mind to that. But everything come along good. So the bushings worked. I compressed these and they seemed fine. Bushings really never moved once the springs kind of held them in place. I wish these up here on top had like a cup or something that they set in, because they kind of move free, and I don't think that looks good. There, kind of straighten those up now. It seems to me like there would still be some kind of pivot swivel here that kind of keeps this, together more. All this pressure on this, all these springs, all the wheel pressure is on that bushing. So really not a great design when you think about it. It needs some kind of pivot right here that keeps this pushed in so it doesn't put so much stress on that bushing. You might have to make us one, where it'll go up and down. It just won't come out or go back. But I think it turned out good. So okay, here's how I put it together. Oh goodness gracious. So on these shafts that go down, I forgot to redo the threads on them. I didn't figure that out until I got almost everything together, and then the shafts the rods would not thread in. And I had to make some marks here with a Sharpie so I could line everything up. So I knew I was on the hole, and you had that inner spring up here, you had to compress down here. These springs just kind of go in, but then to get that rod to thread in here, I took a 6-inch clamp, hooked it down here, and went up here to the top. And that gave me the compression that I needed to just push the rod in, hold it down with my palm, and then screw that in. Then came this little cap right here that holds the top spring on. So what I did to compress this spring is I got zip ties, and I do a zip tie here and a zip tie here and a zip tie here and a zip tie here. I just kept zip tying and tightening, and that brought the spring down, and then I could just screw this on. I got these equal in height now. They used to be one higher and one lower. Now they're equal. They feel a lot more sturdy too. Then I put these caps on. I measured to make sure the end of the thread sticking up off of this was equal, and then put these on. Now it sounds simple to do, but man, I wrestled and wrestled and wrestled with this thing. Then you have to, I mean, this Springer is heavy. New bearings in here, and they have to go up in the cups and then up in the top cup. And then there is the bearing inside the race here, the race cup here. Then there's this cap, and then there's a nut that threads on, but it fits. It's got a collar on it about like that fits down inside the bearing. So that was hard to do, to try to, hold this thing up. Then you got to turn it where it's just in the center of this cup so that the nut would thread down inside the bearing and not smash everything. Then to get this piece on here, it didn't just fall on, it was off. This right here, this main neck shaft was bent in. So I guess the way, I don't know if it was in a wreck, because when you look at the front of the bike and you look at that handlebar covering or the headlight bracket, it's bent a little this way. So I'm wondering if this bike, this front end, was in some kind of accident and never was properly rebuilt. I mean, it's good now. I don't know how, I don't know how it rides, but I don't suspect any issues. Everything went together good, and the fall away is great. The wheel went on, lubed it up good. The wheel bearings are good. I did notice there is not much room. Once you tighten down the axle, there's just really, that's too close for comfort. So, it's got enough spacing in it. So what I'll probably do, this is a 3.3 1/4 19-inch tire. I'll probably go with a more narrow tire. That'll give plenty of clearance, and might even try to find an old school tread like that too. But let me get back here so you can kind of see. I just went ahead and threw those bars on there. We still got to bend them in a little bit, but I like it. They already kind of have the rabbit ear, so we might not have to bend them in at all. I don't know. I like that swoop. I like those rabbit ears. I like how the bar curves up like an ear, but then when the handlebars go back, they're kind of parallel with the tank. So I kind of, with that line, it gives it a nice line. So it's coming along. It's looking good, but we have successfully rebuilt the front end on this Springer. Folks, that was tough. Let's move on to what's next. Oh. Whew. My wrenching shoulder. When it pops, it feels so good. I need your advice, and I need it quick before the next video. Fenders. We got to decide on the fender. All right. Set you back there so you can kind of see the overall look. And pardon me, I'm a mess. It's hot as a bear in this shop today. I was fighting with that. I was laying down on it. It was laying on me. We were holding hands. It was a mess. So it is what it is. All right. Option 1, short fender. Short, stubby fender. Now, I can't get it as low as I want because it has shocks. So we'll need some clearance to go up and down, but that's a short fender there. I'll step out of your way. Okay. This was the fender that was on it. I cut it a little bit shorter because if I use it, I'd want it to be about right there. Has a little bit of a fishtail to it, but not much. All right. Number 2. Number 3. Hate to cut this up, but I can. And I don't really know how to angle it for you. This has a great swoosh. And I don't want it sticking up like that where it looks like a second seat. I want it down like this. So that'll be about where that rides. Number 3. All right. So 1's the short one, the short black one. 2 is the red one that was on it. I just cut it and I want to make it shorter because it swooped way down here. Looked ridiculous. And then 3rd is the big swoop. So I need to know because we got to get a fender on it. Now that I have everything almost back bare metal, I love the look of it. So this paint's got to go. Now Spears, my pinstriping friend, said no, don't take it down the bare metal because of all the Bondo working and stuff that's probably been done to it, all the body work. You know, it's easier for me to spray and paint. I'm sorry, buddy. I just got to see how it looks bare metal. You can still do the stuff. I know it's going to be more work on you, but I just got to see how it looks. And we're going to cover this seat. We're going to do a padding. We're going to do a thick, nice leather. We're going to do leather work in here. So here's my question. What are we going to put in here? I can do anything we want to put in here. But what? Do we do a Harley Davidson logo? Nah, that kind of looks just like an aftermarket seat, man. Do we want to, put our shop badge in there? What do we want to do? How about we name it? And then maybe if we name it, one of you talented folks can send me an image, a logo with the name of it, and we can put it on this seat. So I'm going to get you around here. I hung the pipes, just hung them, so we could get an overall look of all the bare metal raw stuff. I think it looks really good, especially once we strip these. It's going to look great. So let me bring you around here and show you that, and then we'll talk about the seat. So I'm actually happy that when I took that black paint off, that there wasn't a lot of shiny chrome, because the raw metal, dull metal look, almost like a matte metal, I love. It just looks good on bikes. When you think about a chopper and an old school chopper, man, just raw, and I love it. I love how it has the imperfections and how it turned out. And then I love our choice of the cat bowl intake. And then when we strip the pipes, it's got that raw, dull look. And so, it matches the brake back there. We could do struts, hard struts, but I think those just kind of look goofy. If you're going to do the hard struts, just go ahead and, chop it right here, run your bar down here, and hardtail it. Now, we could do that. I was talking about the hardtail frames that I found. They're really long frames. And, this all short right here, there's just way too much room. Yeah, you can throw your battery down there and an octagon oil tank above it. But if I was going to hardtail it, I would cut here and make a piece, a fork that goes down on this side and the other side of the swing arm. They're pretty easy to do, but we have to change all the design of our seat. And we would definitely go with the king and queen if we had a hardtail. So I'm not doing that, but I just think that raw metal turned out great. I love it. I just like it. It's almost Friday morning out here. I've been working all day putting that springer together. Literally 12 hours just to assemble this thing. It was a bear. It's not a one-man job, but we got it done. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't want to miss a Friday upload because I know you guys get in the habit of watching things. So what I'm going to do is stop this video now, but I need two things from you. If you're invested in this, I need two things. Number one, I need help with the fender selection. Chase is going to bring up some fenders, but he's been super busy. So I got to make a choice. I need a name for this bike or a logo design, or if I can see a picture of it, I can put it on here. And we're going to be doing that. So the next video, I guess part 3, we're going to be installing the fender. We're going to be stripping this down to bare metal. Then it's really going to come together. And we're going to pad and leather this seat and do the artwork on the seat and do the nice copper rivets, brass rivets around. I'll show you all that. Super simple. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. We do have to make a bracket here, or a modifier bracket for this. Guys, I think we can drop the oil, change the oil, and take it down the road. So hopefully the next video we'll be riding this thing and seeing how she does going down the road. Oh, we got to make a strap for the battery too. Don't let me forget that. So I need y'all to comment on this and let me know those two things: fender selection and a cool logo for our seat. So that's going to do it for this video. You guys, I'll tell you what, can I brag on you for a minute? My wife was saying the other day, she said, you know, I took the time to go and read some of your comments that people comment on your videos. And she said, everybody is so nice. You have the best subscribers. They're just kind and they're encouraging and they're having fun with you. And it shocked her. So thank you. And do me a favor. Tell your mama now I said hi.